From the Roland Financial Studios in the historic Boston store, your news talk leader.
WJT Erie. If I could just hold back the water, or maybe stop the hands of time, maybe then we'd work together.
And good evening and welcome to Working Hands Radio. Once again, I'm your host tonight, Phil Kerner, and I'll be your host for about the next hour or so. First, I want to say a big hello to everybody listening here in Erie, Pennsylvania on WJET 1400 AM. I'd also like to say a big hello to all the folks over at ISM listening tonight on second shift. I hear that's kind of popular. That's really fun. And finally, a hello to everybody around the globe catching the live stream on Facebook tonight. Please be sure to do the roll call tonight. Let us know where you're from. We always get a big kick out of that. We've had people from around the United States, Australia, Colombia last week. It's a lot of fun to see where you're chiming in from. So once again, we're down here at the Boston store in Erie, Pennsylvania, the heart of downtown Erie, in this historic old store, which is now apartment buildings and a lot of radio stations. And we get a kick out of being here because it kind of comes full circle for me. I spent a lot of time at the Boston store when I was a kid. So in just a minute, I have a co-host tonight. I'm going to bring him in. And again, just do the roll call. If you guys could please just let us know where you're from if you're on the stream. Now, this is a call-in program. The phones are open. The number here is 451-1400. And if you just want to call, if you're from out of town, just put an 814 in front of that, 814-451-1400. So, again, I've said this before. If you've never listened to the program before, it's a lot of fun being at the radio station. And, you know, we live in a world now that's full of podcasting. And, you know, I could do this from my home, but it's just a lot of fun being down here. The sound quality is much better. I reach a lot more people with our message of Working Hands Radio through the airwaves over WJET's signal. But, you know, it's still fun. One of our guests is waiting out in the lobby right now, and it's just exciting to be at the radio station, and that's why we're here tonight. So, again, if you're just turning in for the first time, the purpose of Working Hands Radio, we just celebrate all the trades here, right? I mean, I have an emphasis on manufacturing because that's my background, but anybody who works with their hands is welcome here. And we welcome the plumbers, the carpenters, the welders, any of the artists out there. If you work with your hands, we get it here. So we're here to give a voice to you. Again, this isn't a podcast. This is a talk radio program. So you've got opinions on things. I think tonight you might have one. But we enjoy the call-ins. That's why we're here again. So this is week 10. And just to be clear, not a WJET production. This is a Phil Kerner production. And we pay for this airtime with the help of some really great people who had the courage to try something new in Erie, Pennsylvania. And our first 9 weeks, we've got call-ins from around the United States and Europe and it's Australia, like I said. But we've also featured some local business owners, entrepreneurs, high school students. It's been a lot of fun. So we're here still building steam as more folks are finding out about the program. So before I welcome you into the studio, I have to tell you something. Listen carefully. This is your one chance at show business, so don't screw it up, Howie. So my co-host today is Howie Herman. Welcome.
How you doing, Phil?
Thanks for taking the time to join me on short notice tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, Howie and I have known each other for several years. We worked together for quite a few years. And the nice part about having Howie on as a co-host tonight, not a guest host, but a co-host, is that we both have a lot of the same feelings and thoughts on manufacturing and life in general. But the nice news is you're my proxy tonight because you can actually say things that my wife will kill me for. So that'll be perfect. And but we're going to have a good time tonight. And I guess what I wanted to start off with tonight, as I mentioned in the banner on Facebook last night, but quickly, again, Howie, for you guys who don't know, Howie, give us a little background. I want to make sure they know what you do these days and what's your background in manufacturing.
I've been doing manufacturing. I got out of the Navy in 1998, and I've pretty much been doing some aspect of manufacturing ever since. Quality control. I've been run machines, but pretty much mostly quality control for the last 20 years.
20 years.
Right.
How long were you in the Navy again for?
4 years.
4 years.
Yes.
You were on an aircraft carrier? Did we have this?
I was on, the USS Constellation.
That's about the coolest thing I've ever.
It was pretty neat.
Well,
the 18-hour days aren't all that great, but
And did they say you joined the Navy, see the world? Did you see the world?
you did.
That's awesome.
A lot of water. There's a lot of water on the Earth.
That would make sense being the Navy. So, again, talking about the trade, and I have I know it's a little bit of a boring subject for some people that maybe aren't in the trade, but I started thinking about this, and one of the problems with doing a program like this on manufacturing or working with your hands is I have tried really hard for the first 9 weeks to kind of stay away from politics, right? Because it's inflammatory. But, we've got ourselves in a position here with manufacturing. And the reality is, I don't want to get into politics, but, NAFTA, the World Trade Organization, all those things happened. I didn't vote for that stuff. Did you vote for that stuff?
I did not vote.
So who votes for that stuff?
The
politicians do, right?
Right, and they keep telling you that's what's good for you.
Well, I don't know if they tell us that's what's good for us, but that's what they did.
Right.
And, it adversely affected this area. And
Definitely.
it definitely did. And if you're listening I know we have some guys in Detroit that listen, you can name the city, and you see what happened to manufacturing. And I get a little irritated sometimes with Howie and I were chatting before we got on the air about Facebook. And Facebook used to be for showing pictures of your kids and your dog, and now it's for screaming at people about politics, right? So I get that, folks. That's the deal. But one of the things I wanted to make very clear here tonight is, I might as well just say it on the air. I voted for Trump. And I think, you just got to come clean sometimes, right? And I'm sure everybody suspects that. And listen, like most people I know that voted for Donald Trump, do we cringe a lot when he says things or tweets things? Of course we do. I mean, some of the stuff is a little off topic. Him and Joe Biden are going to have a boxing match, I guess. But
that would be cool to see.
It would be cool to see. Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
I'd pay for that.
I would pay for that too. How much? You wouldn't pay that much, right?
I don't know.
Well, one of the reasons I voted for Trump is I felt like for the first time in 40 years, he at least addressed manufacturing. He at least talked about it on the campaign trail. And that had a big, people resonated with that.
Other than saying it's gone and it's not coming back.
Right. And that's a good point.
Right.
Because I get told all the time, you old guys clinging to your old manufacturing jobs, we're global now. Let's take a time out from that.
Right.
Let's just take a time out from that. I know people out there probably saying, Trump gets his ties built in China. Well, let's talk about that a bit. Number one, I don't know if Donald Trump's really in the tie business. Does he sell millions of ties? I have a feeling they're in his gift shops at his golf courses.
Probably.
I don't think this guy, and okay, whatever, but the garment industry left this country many, many years ago.
Right,
I mean,
long time
quite
ago.
frankly, I don't know if you could have got a tie built in America. I mean, to sell to the masses. Maybe it was
Right.
a personal silk tie or something. So I'm not defending him, but the reality is that was kind of a garbage industry at the end. They had a lot of problems with child labor, and the garment industry in New York City was a disaster,
Right.
and they were using kids. So I was thinking about this on the way down. Maybe Trump was playing a 3D chess with this one. He sent the work over to China to get his ties made, because if kids are going to make the ties, they might as well be Chinese kids and not American kids. So maybe that's the key. So I'm not going to defend it, but I don't think he's in the tie business. I think that's just an offshoot, but I get it. Hopefully he's corrected that, because that did open him up to some criticism when he's talking about bringing work back, but he's got his own stuff there.
You'd think if he was still doing it, you'd hear about it every day.
Excellent point. If anybody's out there, can look that up. Where do you get? Well, I think you could find out where to get Donald Trump ties, but I don't know if you could figure out where they're made that quickly. So, back to the political part. And of course, if you've got a feeling about this is Talk Radio, 451-1400, or call in from anywhere, 814-451-1400. So here's my view on this whole manufacturing / politics / Trump thing. I really don't think people in Washington, we elect these congressmen, and let's face it, the president can only do so much, whether it's Trump or Obama or Clinton or Bush. I mean, you got the congressmen are trying to get some stuff done. They come down to Washington. They really don't know how it works. And then you got the bureaucracy that's been there for 75 years. They know how it works. So somebody gets an idea, and I'm not here to bash NAFTA. I think NAFTA just needed to be renegotiated, which they're doing. The tariffs we'll talk about in a minute. But I guess the issue I have here, because I don't like to call politicians names, and that just doesn't get us anywhere, right? I'd like to be reasonable here. But when I look at the tool and die industry, my industry, somebody told me this, and I can't verify it. We lost about 300 tool and die shops. And folks, if you're not from Erie, there were a lot of shops that did 3 or 4 or 5 guys, right? But they depended on the other big shops to get their work from. So you had these beautiful jobs that paid good money. I had my own tool and die shop. And when China got let into the World Trade Organization, that was it for my customer base. They all flocked to China within a year. It was that fast. And I'm not the only guy that had that issue. I think a lot of people had that issue.
Just much cheaper.
It's much cheaper. So, but the problem I have here, not to be arrogant about it, but it's going to sound arrogant, you can't lose the tool and die trade. I know everybody would like to say, well, you can't lose this trade. You can't lose it. No. Everything we touch comes from molds and dies.
Correct.
And if we can't build them here, now here's where it gets really crazy to me. So not only we lose all this work to China, and believe me, I'm not anti-Chinese people, all right? I mean, this is the way the world works. But back to this global thing. We basically give an industry away to a country that's really not a friend of ours. Then we lose all those jobs. Then we don't have a tax base. Like City of Erie or school district is broke.
Right.
They don't have any money. Then we have to borrow the money from somebody to keep going. Who do we borrow it from? China.
Whoever has the money.
Right. China has all the money. Why do they have all the money? Because they have the manufacturing. So the last couple of weeks, the president came out with this deal with talking loosely about tariffs and with different countries. And what they didn't report, though, when he announced the tariffs, that was the big news, the tariffs. And then, of course, the big news was after that, they had to get on and bring the experts, the talking heads out, who all said it was, for the most part, bad idea.
Everyone, pretty much all the ones that I heard.
I read a few that supported it. And I guess what they didn't listen to, if you listen to the whole speech, he made it clear that they were going to get like a 15-day grace period to renegotiate.
Right.
So the whole thing was kind of a negotiation ploy to put some pressure on them. And guess what? I didn't see it. I was trying to find it before I left for here. Supposedly, South Korea today was going to announce a new trade agreement with the United States. Boom, one down. China, they're going to do something. They need us so desperately for our goods or to sell to.
Well, who's going to buy all their stuff?
I personally feel like the tariffs are short-term pain for long-term gain. We are letting this country that's not a friend of ours. I don't want to go to war with China, but these are bad dudes sometimes, man. And they got all our tool and die work. They've got most of our manufacturing work, or a lot of it, and we can't build they're having trouble finding tool makers and machinists now because nobody wants to get in the trade because there's no shops around. Right. So I guess the point is if you're a big company, then like a Black & Decker or something, and you want to build your saws here in America, but the other guy, Steel, who builds saws, they get them built in China. Well, guess what? They're still going to be $79 at Lowe's. But the Black & Decker, or Steel's building theirs in China, and their stockholders are very happy because they're making a lot of money off the stock. Right. So what can Black & Decker do if they want to stay in business?
They're going to have to go to China.
It just keeps going. It just and the circular thing keeps going.
Exactly.
So then Black & Decker closes down their American plant. We all line up at Lowe's and Walmart to buy their saws that are built by people who we lost the jobs to.
Right.
What am I missing here?
You have to have the good jobs to buy the better products. So when you lost all the better jobs, you kind of people are now forced to buy what they can afford. It's kind of like jeans. Go back to textiles too. I'm not buying a $45 pair of jeans. There are people who will. I'm going to buy a $20 pair of jeans. If I can get them made here, okay, great. If I can't, I'm going to get them wherever I can get them from. The tariffs will probably even that out. I'm not an economist, but I do know everybody in pretty much every instance that I'm aware of that bet against what Trump wanted to do or what he was planning on doing or what he said he was going to do were wrong. And he ended up doing what he said he was going to do.
Well, I don't know why people were so freaking out about this. The guy said for a year on the campaign trail he was going to do this.
Right. It's not a surprise to anybody, or it shouldn't be.
Right. He said he was going to do. I guess the surprise is a politician doing actually what he said he was going to do.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably the surprise. People are blowing gaskets here. Again, what do you guys think? If you're listening on Facebook, if you're listening on locally here on Jet, give us a call, 451-1400. love to get your take on the tariffs. We're not really doing a referendum on President Trump tonight, but if you have feelings, go ahead. We can handle you here if you got anything to say about it. But what's going on social media? Anything fun?
Robinson, I don't see where he's from. I can go look. He says he loves how CNN has acted concerned about tariffs when they never were concerned about GM, Chrysler closing plants in Dayton and many more areas across the United States. We have people checking in from Louisiana, Missouri. Ohio, Lima, Ohio.
I used to have a customer in Lima, Ohio. I bet you they're not there anymore. I got
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, good.
Yep.
Well, to everybody out there on the stream on Facebook, welcome. We really appreciate you taking the time to check in. I believe, Howie, we have a call. So let's go to the phone lines. Hello, caller. You're on Working Hands Radio.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
We're doing really great. You have
Doing
a good
well.
day?
Great.
You have a good day at work today?
Yeah, sure.
Good. What's up?
So here's the simplest example I can think of is, T-shirts. You go to Walmart, buy a pack of T-shirts for $10, and you have to realize they're coming from China. We have 300 million people in this country, and they got 3 billion people over there they're making T-shirts for, plus everybody else in the world that they're making T-shirts for. We're just a small percentage of their T-shirt market, and that's why tariffs are so important, because we need an equalization factor. We sell cars in China at a 25% tariff, and Chinese cars come here with a 10% tariff. Now, how fair is that? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's the whole
why
thing.
we need tariffs.
I love free trade, and I know that it sounds like a cliche, but free trade's great. It's got to be fair. And I don't
Right.
know, and I don't know how these deals got negotiated that this would work this way. So
That's my point. Thanks. I'm listening.
okay, appreciate the call.
Yep.
All right, thanks. Well, the only thing I didn't ask this gentleman was what he does, and again, I reading as much as I do about because I do enjoy politics. I just leave it off radio
Off the
program.
show.
Yeah, but there's other things involved here with the agreements we sign, and I don't want to be naive here. When we're signing trade agreements, like I guess this Trans-Pacific one we did I believe we pulled out of that.
Right, we pulled out of that one.
And everybody's heads exploded when we did that one
Yep,
too.
and the Earth is still turning.
Right, the Earth is still turning. America didn't go bankrupt. We're not paying any more for our stuff, as far as I know. I mean, stuff's always
didn't.
kind of going up, but
Right.
the whole trick for me was always for it to be fair trade. So, but they do negotiate this stuff. There are geopolitical forces at bay here that you're trying to keep maybe security agreements in place with certain countries in
Right.
exchange for a lower tariff or interest rate. So I get that. I don't want to be naive here. It's the one. God bless the president, but sometimes he makes things very simple.
Right.
He's in front of yeah. So, but again. I'm not naive here about Mr. Trump's, President Trump's warts and all, but again, when he at least spoke to manufacturing, that meant a lot to me. It's been my life. It's been my family's life, and there was no reason to lose it. And again, for anybody listening that says, no, it's a global economy. If you don't make your own stuff in a country, the good stuff, the tooling and the good stuff, when that war finally comes, because there will be another war. Maybe it won't be World War III, but when you need tanks and you need machine guns and fighter jets, you got to have tool makers. You don't build that stuff just all by hand. There's dyes and molds involved in stamping all that stuff out.
Correct.
And I've been sounding the warning bell for 10 years that you lose that trade, it's not coming back because kids aren't getting into it. I mean, I don't know. You work in a manufacturing facility.
There's not a lot of kids getting into it now that I see. I mean, I think the youngest kid that I've seen working in the last maybe 10 years is 22 years old, and his dad works in the same shop that I do. And that's why he got into it. and he doesn't want to stay in it.
Why not?
He wants to do something else. I believe he wants to be a forest ranger, which is right up my alley, actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't want to be a forest
well,
ranger.
I would love to be a forest ranger, but then that would take away from my time of field hunting
Right,
and fishing.
right, right.
You know, an 8-hour day is a lot better than a 16-hour day trying to tag jackrabbits or whatever they do.
Well, you know, again, give us a call. What do you think? I call them the Trump tariffs, and some of them haven't even been implemented. Some of them have. I think there's a tariff on some steel.
I don't think, from what I was just reading, I don't know that they have been implemented at all yet. I believe he signed a letter saying it's coming, giving people, like you said, giving them a chance. It's a negotiation. Yeah, everything's a negotiation.
Well, I think it's worth, despite the screaming people, the hyperbole and the histrionics on cable news. I can't even watch cable news, almost any channel anymore.
When it comes to the news for me, and I've thought about this for a while, you have possibilities and probabilities. When you're listening to, in my opinion, conservative news networks, it's possible that you're not getting good information. It's possible that they're lying
a little
to
one-sided, right?
Right.
Leaving things out.
When you're listening
Right.
to liberal news, it's probable that you're being lied to and getting bad
Here we
information.
go.
So,
You know, again, we live in this era now with the cable news. They've got to fill this time, and how do they fill the time? With panels,
right.
And a couple weeks ago, actually about a month and a half ago, I was sick for a week. I was home from work, and I'm never sick from work. I never miss work, and I was sick, and so all I could do was watch TV all day. I couldn't. I was just sick, and I had to laugh. You name the channel, it didn't matter. They pretty much run the same. We're running the same story every hour, just with a different host and a different panel discussing it. So, anyways, that's just a little thought today on manufacturing. If you got any thoughts on the tariffs, if you can tell us why you think they're a bad idea, you're welcome here. We don't want to take the position here that this is the way we think, and you're going to be made fun of if you call in. We treat everybody with respect here. So if you don't like what the Congress and the president's kind of trying to do with evening the playing field, you know, another big thing I do want to finish up with here, though, is the intellectual property problem with China. That's what finally I think the president really has a
That's a big
problem
one,
with.
too, that they're stealing.
They steal your stuff.
You're right.
They steal your stuff.
Your processes.
And what they really want you to do when you move your plant over there, they want you to partner with them. That gives them full access to it.
Yep.
And
part of having a company over there is now everything that you own, we own.
Yep. So again, folks, hate to be the old guy of talking about manufacturing, but the reality is that without it, you don't have a country. If you can't build your own stuff.
We got a guy here on Facebook. He's 20 years old, Rob. Been in the machine shop for 5 years, conventionally and CNC, soon to be a journeyman. Rob, I'm sure Phil would love to talk to you if you could call in. Phil, you want to give the number again? Maybe the 1-800 number?
Yep. Well, we don't have the 800 number, just the local number here is 814-451-1400. Yeah, Rob is his name?
Yes.
Give us a call, Rob, and I'm an apprentice supervisor, and actually when I had my own shop, I just scanned it in the other night. I have this really cool thing that from the state of Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Standards that said, you know, my company met the standards to train apprentices. I'm still very proud of that. That's still up on my wall in my studio downstairs, where I do my tool and die guy stuff. And I looked at that. And I said, you know, I mean, not just me, but my whole company was trained to train apprentices. So, apprenticeships to me, you know, you can't learn this trade in school. We had a guest on a few weeks ago, and he was adamant on that. The school just gets you started. Hopefully it teaches you, you know, a few basic machining principles, how not to get your hands cut off, but you learn a trade from an expert.
Right.
From working side by side with an expert. And I'm all for the 4-year apprenticeship for something as complicated as tool and die making. Now, if you're going to be a lathe specialist, that's fine. I could see a 2-year apprenticeship for a specific area.
Right.
But if you're going to be a tool and die maker, learn the trade and the prints, the design, the assembly, the grinding, and all the machinery, that's 4 years. Then that's 8,000 hours being surrounded by guys training you.
Right. I mean, I've met in the different places I've been. I've met a lot of really smart guys. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that, you know, manufacturing, you know, that's for dummies. Anybody can do it. Well,
Smartest guys I ever worked with, man.
yeah, that is far from the truth. Some of the best guys I know, though, are at least my age, and as they get older,
Well,
they tend to be better.
Now, technically, how you don't work at a tool and die shop. You work at a machining, custom machining company, right?
Right. We make parts for airplane engines.
Now, think about this. I get told all the time that by old friends or people, especially the best information in this trade comes from salespeople because they're out there every day calling on shops.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, I've lost that network kind of because I don't own my own shop, A, and B, I don't know who they're selling to. But that's how we all kept tabs on each other, who's busy, who's not. That was the fun part. But I've always learned a lot from the sales guys to figure out where the work is and what's going on. But they're not even around anymore. When I do see them, one of the things they always tell me is they walk into a tool and die shop, I'm the average age. Okay, now, is that the private line or is that the open line? Okay, let's take the open line. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on Working Hands Radio.
Hi, this is Rob.
Hey, Rob.
On Facebook, he told me to call in.
This is awesome. Rob, the apprentice.
How you doing, Rob?
Yep.
Good. Where are you located?
Kinchelo, Michigan. Upper Peninsula.
Upper Peninsula. Nice. So you're just finishing up your apprenticeship?
No, I'm second year of it. It's a 4-year program.
4 years. Good. And what do they got you doing these days? What part of your apprenticeship are you in? Are you milling right now or grinding?
Yeah, I'm milling right now. I've been in the same plant for 5 years now, so I've already kind of worked all the way through everything before I got to start the apprenticeship.
So how's your apprenticeship experience been? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I like it. I'm learning a lot. The first year was a lot of safety stuff, general knowledge stuff. Now we're getting more into more complex machine operations.
Okay. And now, do you work for a pretty big company or a smaller tool and die shop? Could you give me a little brief description? You don't have to name the company.
Pretty big company.
Okay.
There's about 150 production employees.
Okay, and you're in the tool and die area?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. And how old did you say you were?
I'm 20.
Beautiful. Well, the tool and die trade has been extremely good to my family for a long time. Over 100 years, my family's been in the business. And
It's my grandpa was a tool and die guy for 30-some years, and his dad was too. So,
how'd you hear about the program? Not your apprenticeship program, but how'd you find us tonight? I'm sorry.
Well, I just from following you on Facebook,
Awesome.
I heard about it, and I've been wanting to listen in for a while, and I just happened to catch it.
And now
watching it for a minute.
And now you're a media rock star.
Yeah.
Go in tomorrow and tell them I said you should have a raise.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I wish.
Well, Rob, I appreciate you taking just a minute to call in tonight. It's awesome, and I hope you keep listening.
Thank you.
And good
I
luck.
will.
Good luck with your apprenticeship.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Anything else going on before we go to the phones again?
Generation X engine 2016 Mason, Ohio. People checking in, some people being funny people.
Okay. Are they funny or do they think they're funny?
They think they're funny.
Well, we just got done talking to an apprentice, and we also talk about, you and I just spent a good part of the time talking about manufacturing and jobs. So I think our next call has got some jobs to talk about. And why don't you go ahead? We should have Lori Deaver from Industrial Sales and Manufacturing on the line. Lori, are you there?
I'm here, Phil. How are you tonight?
I'm great. So what's going on? I hear you guys down there are going to be putting together, you're looking for some manufacturing positions to be filled.
Right. We will be conducting open interviews, and I wanted your listener to know about it on Saturday, April 14th from 8 to 1. So if anyone is looking for a career opportunity in manufacturing, we're looking for first and second shift in CNC programming. We're also looking for some quality inspectors and also some cost estimators. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to kind of put it out there for you.
Okay, quickly now, what's open interviews? What's that mean? I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
Well, an open interview is if someone is just, you don't have to have a scheduled appointment.
Okay.
You just stop by. Our address is 2609 West 12th, and it's going to be from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1. So you just stop by. I would suggest that you would bring a resume with you so we could take a look at that. We could talk a little bit about the job, the opportunity within the company, possibly, do a walkthrough and show you, we're a big CNC house, and so there's a lot of great things that we do. We're in the forefront of, technology, and so it's kind of an exciting opportunity, So again, it's just just come between the hours of 8 and 1. Come with an open mind. As I had mentioned, bring your resume and let's just sit down and we would talk about what you've done, what you could bring to industrial sales. So it's kind of it's a cool opportunity to do that. And again, as I had mentioned, CNC programmers, both mill and lathe, and what we're looking for there, even if you don't have experience, just come. But we are looking for those who have knowledge in CNC mills and lathes, with experience in operation, setup, and programming. Of course, the knowledge of machine tooling is great. You must be proficient in blueprint reading, GD&T. That's a plus as well. You know, so there's just great opportunities there. As far as quality, someone who has some quality experience. What we're looking for there, Phil, is obviously an inspection background. Someone who might have some CNC or CM&M experience, plus Romararn experience,
so
there as well.
This is almost like a job fair for industrial sales.
Yes.
Okay, so again, the date is April 14th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a Saturday, right? And they can show up at the shop anytime between those hours, correct?
Correct.
And they can bring a resume, no appointment needed. I'll make sure if the folks who are listening to the program tonight, sometime tonight or tomorrow, I'll put a blurb up on my site to remind them about this. But now, you didn't tell them the best part about working at ISM.
Well, you know what the best part about working at ISM?
No, I was going to tell you what the best part is.
Sorry, Phil?
I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you what the best part is.
What is that?
They get to work with me. There you go. Done deal.
Get to work with the tool and die guy.
You get to work with the tool and die guy.
Well,
so
I guess they do. But I think probably one of the key things too that I always, say is that we're always open to talent. And that, and along with talent is also that you come with a great attitude, a willingness to work, to come to the table with, just that positive, I can do whatever you need for me to do. We're really looking for that too.
Awesome.
So there's kind of a combination of different things, but I felt that this was a good vehicle.
Absolutely. If anybody's looking for a job in manufacturing, April 14th, the ISM Erie is the place to be. Industrial Sales and Manufacturing. Again, that's 2609 West Fall Street between 8 and 1 p.m. on a Saturday. Yep. Very good. Yes. Well, thank you, Lori. Thank you for calling in, and we'll spread the word.
Thank you, Phil.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back here with our mortician friend to learn all about what happens when you die. Get ready. It's called Working with Your Hands, folks, and robots and the Chinese have not taken over the mortician's job yet, so let's go get Jack and bring him over. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Captain Brad White here, founder of New England Burials at Sea. Because of our well-respected brand reputation, we are so proud that we've grown from coast to coast as people from all over ask for us by name to use our services. You, too, will be impressed at our attention to detail. Many families say, I didn't know you could do this, where, or how to honor our parents' final sea burial wishes. From ash gatherings to full-body burials, we work with all cultures and creeds and can accommodate families up to 6 or larger groups to 400. Our sea burial tributes are respectful, memorable, and affordable, with prices starting at just under $495. Check out our informative website, newenglandburialsatsea.com, and be sure to ask for our free informational DVD. We'd be honored to be of service to you and your family, for now or in the future. So contact us today. Visit newenglandburialsatsea.com or call 877-897-7700. Again, 897-7700. NewEnglandBurialsAtSea.com.
Hi, folks. This is Phil Kerner for Working Hands Radio. Let's face it, the last 10 years or so has been one tough ride for American manufacturing. Well, this sponsor of Working Hands Radio has managed to not only get through the last 10 years, but just celebrated their 50th year in business in 2017. Folks, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have to tell you, I've never seen a shop that jumps through more hoops to keep their customers satisfied than Industrial Sales and Manufacturing right here in Erie, Pennsylvania. With over $30 million in equipment on the shop floor, no job is too simple, no job is too complex for ISM. CNC milling and turning, robotic welding, laser cutting, plasma burning, assembly, and powder coating are all done under one roof, which gives ISM a big edge over many companies that might have to subcontract many of those operations out and lose control of the process. Industrial Sales and Manufacturing deals with some of the most demanding customers in the world and strives for continuous improvement on a daily basis. Built in Erie, found around the world. Give them a shot. ISMErie.com. All right, so we are back in the studio. I'm Phil Kerner, this is Working Hands Radio. Welcome to the second half of our program tonight. And we're pleased to have in the studio tonight Mr. Jack Martin. Welcome.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks a lot.
It's funny, last night when I posted on Facebook that you were going to be my guest, some guy said something about, this doesn't sound like a machine shop subject. And I said, this isn't machine shop radio. This is Working Hands Radio. In fact, before I brought Jack on, though, when I invited him a week or so ago, he said that you sure, because you do a lot with manufacturing, but the premise of the show was always to talk to people who work with their hands. And like I said before, I don't believe your job so far in the funeral home business has been taken over by robots, has been taken over by, cheap labor. People got to get the funeral business is still, I would think, very healthy. Am I correct?
You're very correct. Yeah, thank goodness no robots yet. But who knows? That could be down the road.
They won't be. Personal touch.
Yeah, we deal with a lot of manufacturing companies with our merchandise, particularly with caskets. But with the changing of increase of cremations,
right?
Erie County 5 years ago, 19% cremation rate. Now it's over 50%.
About half and half now.
Yeah,
about
half.
And how many? Okay, so we're going to move right through this, folks. And I talked to Jack last night, and I said we're going to ask some fun questions because everybody kind of knows about the funeral business. But I asked Jack, how far can I go? He says, go as far as you want. So I kind of titled your talk tonight, "What Happens When You Die."
Okay.
Now, so we don't really know what happens after you leave the funeral home because that just hasn't been quite figured out yet. But first thing I do want to make sure I do say, though, first and foremost, thank you for helping us bring the show to life.
Important. Important topic. You've been a good friend.
But it means a lot. Whenever you're trying something brand new, you got to find people, the kindred spirits, and it's not as easy as you would think. And you were there for us. So, folks out there, you got to understand, boy. There's that song by the Beatles. I get by with a little help from my friends, and I really appreciate it.
Well, no, and what you've been doing, before I got into the funeral business full time, I was vice president of 2 universities, and my main contact group that I work with were businesses. Trying to bring business dollars into the universities, but at the same time, seeing what universities could do for businesses. In fact, that's what was my topic for my doctoral dissertation. Was business relationships with higher education. You never knew that, did you, Phil?
There are you're just multifaceted.
Yeah.
So we're going to move right through this. Okay.
Let's go through this.
So, person dies. Now, obviously, when you're dealing with this situation, whether it's your mom or whatever it is, you pick up the phone, and hopefully you have a funeral home in mind, a funeral director. And if you guys aren't, who's ever listening to this today, you always should know a funeral director because it's nice to know to pick up that phone, to have a personal connection, at least with the funeral home, if not with the funeral home owner. But that's not something to think about when something bad or upsetting happens, like losing a loved one. So all I know is I pick up the phone at 3 a.m. or whatever, because my brother passed away a few years ago, and Jack answers the phone at 3 a.m. and I say, here's where he's at. What happens? What's the first thing?
No, that's great. I don't have an answering service. I think I'm the only funeral home in town because the family wants to speak with me. And when I get a phone call at 3 a.m., either it's a hospital or if it's a family member, we have to make arrangements to do the removal. And if it's at a home, we have to, no matter what time of night it is, what the weather's like. I've gone out in blizzards with power out. We have to do the removal, bring the body back to the funeral home.
Now, do you use like a pickup truck for that, or?
Well, I did have a lady that wanted. She asked me if she could save her $250 removal fee if she could bring him to the funeral home in the pickup truck.
What'd you say?
I said sure, but the poor guy, was laying in the living room in a hospital bed, and when she asked that, he actually stirred and stood up, saying, "What in the heck are you talking about?" But no, it's important to get the body back to the funeral home as
And the
quickly as
funeral home
possible.
handles that part of it.
Oh yeah, we handle that part. If someone passes away, and I tell everyone, give me a call. If they are not under hospice care, we have to contact the coroner.
Okay.
The coroner will go out. If they are under hospice care, hospice can declare death, and then either the hospice nurse or a family member will call me. I have a list of gentlemen that go out. We go out in suits at 3 in the morning, do the removal, go back to the funeral home, and then I'll call the family the next morning.
And to meet with them.
To meet with them.
Set up the arrangements, right?
Right, unless they had prearranged.
Right.
Which more and more people are doing, are prearranging their funeral to make it a lot easier. And let's say the family wants a traditional viewing, which, by the way, is kind of declining. You can still have a traditional funeral and be cremated.
Right.
Some people, they don't understand that
right.
if I'm going to be cremated, can I still be viewed?
Right.
You do have to be involved.
To me, saying goodbye to the body is a very important part of the process.
It is.
It's just a ritual, but maybe that may be my age.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a closure to say see the person that I knew one more time.
Well, the funeral is for the living.
Exactly
it's
right.
Not for the deceased. I did a prearrangement with a 93-year-old gentleman who said, just cremate me and throw me in the lake. And he said, all my friends are gone. And I said, well, Bill, you have 6 kids.
Right.
And it's their friends that want to give them their support and
Well,
celebrate your life.
So the funeral's for the living. So we really want to do here, though, is get back to the dead.
Okay.
So the body comes in.
Yes.
Now, let's just say it's a normal death, no accident, no motorcycle crash here,
Okay.
decapitation. What's the first thing you guys do to a body that comes in? You come into work in the morning. You guys might have picked up 1 or 2 new customers during the night. What do you do?
Right. Well, if we find out that the body needs to be embalmed, we go through the embalming
That's first?
process. That's first. The first thing we do, of
When
course,
you say the body might need to be embalmed, don't they all need to be embalmed?
No.
Oh, really?
No. If you're going to be direct cremation or direct burial, they don't have to be embalmed.
Okay. So what's the rule? Why do you have to be
It's a
embalmed?
state law that if a body is going to be viewed by the public, or if we are going to go to a church, even if the casket is closed, if there's any public, or if we go to a public building, embalming disinfects and preserves the body.
So you actually do that yourself too. I know that.
Yes.
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 Do you still do all of them, or do you have somebody else
Oh
help
no,
do it?
goodness! We have funeral directors on staff. That's all they do.
Okay.
We did close to 700 calls last year. So the first thing that the embalmer does is washes the body, and normally everyone passes away with their eyes and their mouth open. So the first thing you have to do is you wash the body and you close the mouth and the eyes.
Okay. And what keeps them closed? Hate to ask, but
That's fine.
that's important. You don't want to look. You don't want to be viewing somebody else. They look like they're surprised.
No, exactly. You don't want to go up to a casket with their mouth and eyes open. No, for the eyes, we have.
I told you this was going to be a fun interview. For you guys that didn't think this was going to work.
Well, I teach this to high school kids.
Right.
And
we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So close the eyes, close the
I
mouth.
close the eyes with eye caps. They look like contact lenses with real sharp ridges on it, and it prohibits the eyes from opening.
Okay.
There's a couple ways of closing the mouth. One is through with a needle injector. We have 2 pieces of wire, and we inject a wire in the upper gum, one in the lower gum, and we close the mouth and we tighten the wire, and we put the wire behind the teeth, or we use ligature, string.
'Cause that's the jaw is a strong muscle there. I mean, that's why you got for the wiring, huh?
Yeah, if you don't close the eyes and the mouth before embalming, you'll never get them closed.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It would be almost impossible.
Now, a couple times, the one time I took a fascinating tour of your facility, you mentioned different embalming fluids, depending on what people pass away from.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Everybody thinks it's formaldehyde. Well, they've come a long way, with EPA, with cancer-causing substances, the chemicals. I mean, it's entirely, the mortuary chemical business is huge. We have to know what the person passed away from. If someone died of liver kidney disease, they're going to be jaundiced, and the body is yellow. If we use certain chemicals, it may turn the person purple.
If you use the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So in every case, you need to know what the person died from before you embalm them?
Yes.
Wow.
And you have to do case analysis, if they are swollen, they have a lot of water retention. We have chemicals that will actually draw the water out of the body, so they aren't so bloated.
How long does the embalming process take?
Well, a good embalmer will take about 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours?
Yeah. Of course, if a body is autopsied, or if someone is a organ donor, it's going to take a lot longer because we use a circulatory system. And when you donate your organs, or they're cutting our circulatory system, so we may have to embalm the legs separately. We may have to embalm the arms separately.
See, Howie, did you know any of this?
I did.
You didn't know any of that. No. Well, we try to do one-point injection. Of course, we go through the carotid artery in the neck. The carotid artery is a very thick-walled artery, and we drain through the jugular. One-point injection, so the embalmer will find the right chemicals, and we use an electric pump. In the olden days, they had a foot pump. In fact, Abraham Lincoln was the first president embalmed.
Was he really?
Yes.
Okay, embalming now, quickly. How long you embalm a body? You exhume that body in 50 years. What's it look like? Especially with today's chemicals.
Yeah. I have a friend in Ohio that when they were doing experiments with different chemicals, he still has a body of a gentleman that was embalmed in 1960. And the body is still laying on a table at his funeral home as we speak today. Since 1960.
Is that in like the front entryway when you come in? Good, that makes sense.
Grading everyone. The only thing they have to do is put eye cream on his eyes because his eyes, dry out. It all depends. It depends on what the person died from. It depends how good the embalmer was when he embalmed. It depends on conditions. Here's something, people, they want to leave flowers in the casket when they close the casket and bury. If you do leave flowers, it's going to enhance decomposition. So I tell people, I don't say, hey, don't put flowers in the casket. I kind of know that behind the scenes, because water is the first thing that is the quickest way to break down a body.
Now, we're going to start wrapping up quickly, but a few other things. I don't know how far you want to go here. You work in the funeral business. There's a lot of dead bodies around.
Yeah.
Any strange things ever happen at the funeral home?
I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
We already do.
But I have had some very unique stories and things that have happened. And it's just not me. I've had families tell me, I had one case where 2 daughters and the mother were there, and a gentleman came into the parlor with a real bright yellow sport coat, and he gave his condolences to one of the daughters and said, have you seen Mr. Martin around? And she said, yeah. And he says, well, just tell him what a great job he does. So he left, and the sister turned to her other sister. She said, do you see that guy with the yellow coat? She goes, I didn't see a guy in a yellow coat. And the mother said, I didn't either. And I just about fell out of my chair because the guy laid out before their dad was a gentleman in a bright yellow coat. So now I don't think I'm nuts.
Have you ever?
I didn't make that story.
Have you ever heard like doors slamming or creepy stuff happen?
Well, I've heard. Yeah, I've heard.
You ever run out of there? Said I need to get out of here tonight.
I was at the funeral home one night working, and I did hear a couple things, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. But they're spirits. They're good spirits.
That's awesome. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm saying, people, trust me, I am.
You are. I would not have you on the program.
No, exactly.
Okay. Finally,
Yes.
I know it's been tough for you the last few years, and I think it's because of this opioid crisis.
Oh yeah.
And I know we talked a few years ago, and you were you were upset about it. And but just so folks know here about giving back, talk a little bit about this death and dying class at McDowell High School.
Yeah, well, for 15 years, I've been teaching death and dying. I started out as a school teacher when I first got out of college. They asked me to teach part of the health curriculum, death and dying, which I would go all the way back to the funeral business, back to Neanderthal man. Well, 3 years ago, when we started getting the opioid crisis, and we are in a major crisis, I took the curriculum and I cut it in half. And half of my lecture, the students actually come to the funeral home. I have Sagertown now students coming, and I have some Gannon classes.
Do you let them embalm people and stuff?
Well, yeah, when I taught public speaking, they wanted me to demonstrate how to embalm a body. But so what I do is I talk about their age group, and I have them go in the embalming room and picture a young 18-year-old laying on a cold stainless steel table. And I actually, try to scare the crap out of them. And it has worked.
How often do you teach that?
I teach it in the spring and the fall, a total of about 10 days.
And the students actually come to you?
They come right to the funeral home.
For a couple hours?
For a couple hours, and then another class comes up. So I'll have 4 classes a day.
Okay.
For 2 or 3 days.
And this is in the midst of running a very busy funeral business.
Oh, goodness, yeah. Yeah, but, it's so important to me because I've lost, friends of mine. I've known students that actually sat in that class 10 years ago that I had to do their funeral for.
Right.
And I'm just trying to get through to them. You can set up as many committees as you want. In fact, my program, Bloomberg Report, read an article about my program, and they actually sent a woman from New York City and a photographer from Chicago, and they spent the weekend with me, and they did a large article in the Bloomberg Report magazine about my addiction program that I do with the high school students.
It's a good thing. And Jack, and for anybody listening, I guess regretfully, I've had to use Jack's services a few times in the last several years, and couldn't ask for my time of need to be handled by somebody more professional and so warm and does a great job. And as we have to start wrapping up here quickly, Duskus Martin Funeral Home. What's the website? What's the phone number?
Yeah, phone number is 838-7656, www.duskusmartinfuneralhome.com. You can write to me, give me a phone call, have some coffee, come over and
take a tour.
The
place is beautiful.
The funeral home's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It is. Well, Jack,
thanks, Phil.
I appreciate having you on the program tonight. And again, thank you for helping out with sponsoring our initial pilot season.
Well, it's my pleasure.
And we're going to start wrapping up here with a few commercials and then finish up. So thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Phil. And thanks, guys. Thank you.
Captain Brad White here, founder of New England Burials at Sea. Because of our well-respected brand reputation, we are so proud that we've grown from coast to coast as people from all over ask for us by name to use our services. You, too, will be impressed at our attention to detail. Many families say, I didn't know you could do this, where, or how to honor our parents' final sea burial wishes. From ash gatherings to full-body burials, we work with all cultures and creeds and can accommodate families up to 6 or larger groups to 400. Our sea burial tributes are respectful, memorable, and affordable, with prices starting at just under $495. Check out our informative website, newenglandburialsatsea.com, and be sure to ask for our free informational DVD. We'd be honored to be of service to you and your family, for now or in the future. So contact us today. Visit newenglandburialsatsea.com or call 877-897-7700. Again, 877-897-7700. newenglandburialsatsea.com.
We know it feels like your world is falling apart when you lose someone you love. At Descus Martin Funeral Home and Crematorium, they can help you hold things together. Take care of the million things that must be done to bring chaos into focus so that you can cope. Jack Martin, funeral director, offers a state-of-the-art facility in a park-like setting that provides a sense of comfort with his understanding staff and soothing atmosphere. Whether you need immediate support, out-of-town arrangements, pre-planning, or grief counseling, Jack is here for you. Jack Martin is very civic-minded and involved in our Erie community. He is the president of the local Rotary, teaches a death and dying class to local high school students, and yes, he answers his own phone. Please keep Descus Martin in mind in your time of need. You'll be in good hands. DescusMartinFuneralHome.com.
Life is about changes. The home that was so perfect yesterday suddenly seems too big, and the thought of moving may seem overwhelming. Perhaps your parents are still in the family home, but need help downsizing, and you live across the country. Or worse yet, a loved one has passed on, and you are faced with clearing out the estate and prepping the house for sale. Simple Solutions for Living, a locally owned and operated business in Erie, Pennsylvania, is here to help make the transition to a different living situation. We handle it all, from beginning to end, with hands-on help. So all you have to do is walk in the door of your new home and enjoy. Contact Senior Move Manager Marion Taylor at Simple Solutions for Living to schedule a WOW consultation to work on whatever it takes to get the job done. Call 814-449-5309 or visit simplesolutionsforliving.com.
And we're back, Working Hands Radio. The show was a lot of fun tonight. And again, thank you to Jack Martin. He's a great guy, fun guy. But Howie, got a couple minutes left. What's going on social media? Anything fun?
Chef from Ohio, I think he said he was from. He said the story about the guy that died in 1960. He was Sabina, Ohio. His name was Eugene, 1960. They saved him for years. He said they buried him a couple years ago.
Okay, Jack probably hasn't been up there.
A lot of people saying good show. Most of the other comments we already got to.
Okay, so. Excellent. Well, it is just about time to wrap up another hour, show number 10 of Working Hands Radio. And again, thank you to Jack Martin for calling in, or for stopping by. And thank you to all the people who called in tonight. You know, as I say before, as I always say, we're here to tell your stories. This isn't the Phil Kerner Show. This is the Working Hands Radio Show. This is about connecting you guys out there, you gals that work with your hands every day. You're welcome here. You can learn more about the program at workinghandsradio.com. All the programs are there, along with the audio downloads if you'd like to catch up with the podcast type download. And I'd also like to just take a moment to also thank a few other sponsors that were not with us tonight. Utterly Smooth Hand Cream, they're awesome, and we're going to get them hopefully on the show next week. A family-owned business in Ohio, and also to Tom Kennedy here in Erie, Professional Development Associates. You know, we produce this program ourselves for the love of working with your hands, because we believe that building stuff with your hands is cool. So I'm also known as the Tool and Die Guy online, and if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about tool and die making, machining, and lessons like that, there's over 300 of them up there at thetoolandieguy.com. I've been a busy boy the last several years. There's over 300 videos there, and we're running a special right now because I'm also starting a live training module that's included with that. So again, for the next day or so, you can take advantage of that, thetoolandieguy.com. So we will be back next week, and if you're somebody out there that enjoys the trade, we're starting to wrap up our pilot season here. We're looking for more patrons, what I call patrons, sponsors, who would like to support what we're doing here. Please contact us, and the information's at workinghandradio.com, or you can simply call the radio station. We'd like to keep this going for another 10 weeks if you're interested. So we'll be here in the same seat next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in. And I always end with one of my favorite sayings about the trade. A man who works with his hands is a laborer. A man who works with his hands and his brain is a craftsman. But a man who works with his hands and his brain and his heart is an artist. Until next week, keep the faith. I'm Phil Kerner for Working Hands Radio.